Hey everyone, I'm excited to have one more career changer with me to catch up and see what happened with them since the course. I'm super excited to talk to you, Sammy. How are you?
Good. I'm excited too. How are you?
I'm great. I mean, as much as we can be during these times.
Yeah.
So Sammy took the very first iteration, actually, or the very first public iteration of Repurpose Your Purpose course on how to change careers. And it's been quite a while. So I'm curious to hear, Sammy, what happened to you, during this time. And to make it easy for everybody who is watching this, I really want to start from the very beginning. I want to start by asking you, what were you doing before or when you took the course, and what did that feel like?
hmm Yeah. Well, I guess it was a couple years ago now, and I was working in education. So I have or had worked in education for 11 years and kind of done different, not like just a teacher. I wasn't just a classroom teacher, but I always taught different grades and I ran programs. So mostly a lot of like after school programs and kind of extracurricular, a lot of environmental justice work. Specifically at the end was a lot of environmental justice work in high school um, level and some middle school. And so, yeah, basically running programs, running teacher professional development, teaching high school students, and that's kind of where I was when I took the course.
So what prompted you to take a course on how to change careers?
Well, it was the timing was a little interesting because I was already starting to feel like, okay, this is something I was feeling at the end of that chapter where I was, working more directly with students. And what I really wanted, or what I thought I wanted, was a raise. Like I really wanted to get higher up in the same industry. So not necessarily change career, but um, change kind of what I was doing. And so when I took the course, that's actually the stage I was in, which was now a couple of years later, I'm seeing was kind of an early stage career change where I was looking for a different opportunity. And I happened to actually have just gotten a new position at a different charter school network when I took the course. So in the course, I was kind of thinking like, well, not all of this really applies to me because, well, I already got the new job that I wanted, right? And the course was very focused on, okay, what are your skills? What do you like? Kind of the transferable skills piece, which has been super important since then. But at the time, I was like, oh, I don't really need this because I already got I already got the job. Um, it turns out I had that job for a year and it really was not the right thing for me and it wasn't necessarily the right path for me. And so I feel like I took all of the things I learned in the course and applied them like a year later.
So one of the reasons why I really like to talk to career changers after a while, right, of this
hmm
transition is that we don't have as much control over timing as we
Yeah.
think that we do. And also what I've noticed is that sometimes people who take the course like immediately then transition, and some people it's almost like you need to marinate it and you need to
Yeah.
like be in life with that stuff and then it clicks,
hmm
right? So before I ask you how you went from what you were doing to what you're doing now, how about you tell us what you're doing now?
Well, what I'm doing now is very different, but also very similar in terms of my, skill set. But I work for a general contractor in Los Angeles and Inglewood, and they do commercial projects, but a lot of what they do is also affordable housing development. So I work as a project engineer, which is kind of a more entry level version of a project manager. And I manage one new construction affordable housing development in LA. And then I was so I've actually worked on two affordable housing projects. And now I'm also going to be working on a commercial um, build in Hollywood.
Okay, so is
So I
that the
work in construction
construction?
management. Yeah.
Okay, so wait a second, because from education to construction management and project engineer, what? Give us the short version of like, how did you end up in construction?
Yeah. And I think it's funny, you know, it's like you make, I mean, I didn't actually think about it until you just asked me, but in terms of a lot of what we talked about in the course was like the transferable skills, right? So I had to think about, okay, well, what am I good at? And how do I transfer it to a new industry? But a lot of what I didn't know was I didn't even know what other industries there were because I had spent my whole career in education. So to me, everything outside of education was some like mystery black box of, you know, they do something all day and I don't know what it is. So part of it, you know, you explained was kind of interviewing and learning about those industries through LinkedIn and just kind of informational interviews. But I felt like it's just funny the connections we make that are really just all in our head. Like we're the ones deciding which skills are transferable and what we think they transfer to. And then we have to kind of make that case. And so I feel like I made a very good case to why education transferred to project management and accomplished that. But basically the pathway of the thought process was I was in this education position that I didn't really love. And then I kind of saw the runway ahead of me, which was, okay, you know, for the next 30 years, I'm going to climb up this ladder. And that seems just like, I don't know, not interesting at all and not inspiring. And it felt like there was a time, you know, an opportunity for a break, for a kind of change in path. And then because I had always been interested in environmental issues, a lot of what I had been doing with my students was green construction, like LEED and, you know, green buildings. So I actually had learned a lot about buildings kind of inadvertently as part of my work as an educator. So that was kind of I don't know, a placeholder, like, oh, well, I know about buildings. And then life is random. A friend of mine also worked in youth nonprofits and quit her job and then started taking classes in construction management. And we both had left our jobs and gotten unemployment. And because we were getting unemployment can pay for retraining, and I was looking for what classes to take, I was like, okay, I'll just follow you and take these classes as well. So suddenly I was enrolled in a construction management certificate program where I learned a lot more, and unemployment actually covered the cost of that, which was really amazing. The work source,
I want to, yeah, you're sharing
Yeah.
so many things. I want to
Okay.
really tease out a few of these things because I
Yeah.
feel they're so important for people who are watching this, right? One is, so we kept in touch during the past couple of years. And so I know you have, you know, a diverse set of interests. And the one great thing about you is that you started to explore them without having this feeling of, I need to just choose one and everything has to be perfect beginning to end.
Yeah.
So I think when you say, you know, life is random and I just took this construction management certificate, you know, it maybe like it diminishes one thing that I think you brought to this experience that's super important, the openness. And openness to what might be there, that you didn't need to necessarily know everything, and that, you know, there's so many things we don't know about. As you mentioned, there's so many industries we don't know about, right? I always say, you know, I always find about jobs that I don't know existed, right? So you took that in as in like, I can be open to things. I don't have to know where I'm going. I can start on the journey.
And I think what allowed me that freedom also was, I mean, we did then speak. We had some sessions in that time period where, you know, I really did feel this pressure, like, okay, my contract is ending, and so I'm applying for jobs. And I just didn't even know what to apply for. And I think what I got from our time together was you just kind of opened the container a little bit and said, well, first you said that I sounded really burnt out and exhausted and demoralized. Like, and I really did feel kind of like lost and didn't know what to do. And I think what I felt like was like you gave me the permission to sort of not know what was next, not apply for a job, but actually just explore. And you asked me, can you take a break? Like, is that something you could do? And, then I don't know what, I mean, I guess it just hadn't occurred to me in that way. But I was able to take a break, and I ended up taking a few months just to sort of explore. And it does feel random, but I think I was able to be open to that randomness because I kind of gave myself some time to figure it out.
This is so important because we always have these messages given to us that we have to control everything. We have to go, go, go. If we don't apply for a job, something horrible is going to happen. And, although sometimes we might be in a situation where we have to work and bring money in, right? It's really important that I think also we start to slow down. And sometimes, like when you slow down, it feels like in the short term, you're achieving less, but it does give you inner space for ideas to emerge.
Mm-hmm.
And things that you would never think about or that you wouldn't notice in the busyness of life.
Yeah. And those, I guess it ended up maybe being like 7 months total that I was off. I mean, I've never worked harder. Like I'm also, my personality is, I love not having anyone telling me what to do. And so I got to basically direct my own time for that whole time period. And I mean, I was enrolled in this program. I'm getting my real estate license. I started like a business doing real estate investments and learned so much. Like I was listening to podcasts obsessively. I mean, I basically gave myself like a 7-month master's degree in a new field.
I love it.
DIY.
I love it.
I talked to tons of people on LinkedIn because you had given me some scripts for reaching out to people. I talked to like all these random people that I learned so much from. So yeah, it was kind of a maze, a journey.
I love that. All right. So I want to ask you, what was it like to, my course is quite unique in its format. And one of the things that makes it different is that you're with a bunch of other people who also don't know what they want to do, or they're also looking to change careers. So what was it like to have these conversations with other people in the same transitional space, or who are also unsure about what to do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if I'm being honest, I think when I was in the course with people, I was deluded into thinking I knew what I wanted, and all these people don't.
Okay. So if they're watching, this is what Sammy was thinking.
Oh, they're so lost. And I know, I already have decided what my path is. And then within the next 6 months, I was like, oh, never, this is not what I want. So then I was just sort of delayed. Whereas they had all already accepted what I was resisting. But it was interesting for me specifically because I was coming from the nonprofit world, and I felt like a general sense in the group of we're doing XYZ, but we're not finding meaning in our work. And a lot of people seemed in the group to be searching for more meaning in their work. And I actually felt like the weird pariah who was like, I have meaningful work. I want more money and stability and security and like more of a, and we can kind of talk about how I think that's affected now that we're in this kind of crisis. I mean, we don't have a crystal ball, but I do feel like I kind of made a choice to be in a more stable industry.
I want to hear about that, actually. I want
Yeah,
to interrupt you, right? Because I think this is such an important thing, that having meaning and making money.
yeah,
So how do you feel about it now? And what do you want to say about the current situation?
yeah. Well, I felt a lot of guilt. I think that was a lot of the feelings I was navigating over the course of like the last year that I had in education. Was I had developed this interest in real estate, which, you know, to me was like the devil industry, right? Like this is this bad, this oppressive industry with racism and not a social justice based career line. But I was also just so interested in it, and I love learning new things and um, kind of the financial freedom aspect of working, just kind of having more control over my time versus showing up to a job every day. So I had to navigate a lot of feelings of guilt that I was doing meaningful work, but didn't feel like I necessarily had stability in that industry. A lot of the work I was doing is grant funded in schools. And, you know, when our economy was booming, that money was flowing, but it started to, maybe 2 years ago, I started to sort of see the signs that like there may not be as much free flowing funding for the type of quote non-essential work I was doing in schools. I was doing all the sort of enrichment um, programs. So I guess in terms of your question of what I was feeling now, I guess I was sort of foreshadowing like something changing, and um, I still feel that I've been able to bring the social justice element to this work. I specifically wanted to work in affordable housing construction. I felt like that's a huge need in Los Angeles. And then through the real estate, I've actually been able to meet a lot of incredible people doing like social impact projects, and I'm getting to develop kind of a social impact model for the real estate with a partner that I also does affordable housing in LA. So I feel like I've been able to bring some of that meaning into because now I work in the for-profit sector, which was very, very challenging for me to even like admit that I wanted, really.
Yeah, this is such a rich conversation. When I moved from, the arts into marketing, I had similar issues, where I felt like the marketing industry is all horrible. And how could I ever work into that, even though I
Right.
liked marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think just like you found out, I also found out that when we're talking about an entire industry, maybe we need more people who have a social justice lens or who want to do good and make a difference, enter those industries and focus on the projects or the companies or the people who are also trying to operate under a different paradigm.
Right.
Right? Because real estate is a huge industry. So why should we leave it to the people that, are exploiting that situation, instead of maybe having more people like you who are, have different values.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think in terms of all of it, it's back to your question of, being open to explore. I think also it's been being willing to just take action.
Mm-hmm.
And, you asked if I wanted to do this interview, and I felt like, well, I'm not there yet. Like I even though, yes, I landed a job that I had sort of like was my next career change, but I don't know that I don't know if I'm going to be doing this for 30 years, but I feel like the pressure to have something that I'm going to do for the next 30 years is sort of lifted. And then, maybe 2 years from now, I'm going to be doing something totally different, but I feel like I love what I'm doing now, and I'm learning so much, and it feels like it's part of this path. And I'm not there yet, basically.
But it's very
but that's
different.
okay.
You might be there if you're measuring doing something you love.
Right.
Right? Because I think that's what's I don't know, like I'm not that old, so I don't know like 40 years ago, 30 years ago, how people were feeling about their jobs,
Right.
right? But I think this idea that you have to calibrate your career on what do I want to do for 30 years, that is
Hmm.
like the name of the profession or the industry, versus
Hmm.
how do I connect to what I love doing and have
Hmm.
enough skills and flexibility that no matter what that's called, what industry that is in, I'm going to keep for 30 years doing something I love doing. I
Right.
think this is very different. And with
Yeah.
all the changes right now, it might be a much better way to go about life, to be flexible on what it is, but not give up on, but be very committed to, but I have to love it. It has to fit with my values or with my view of the world, or, what's important to you.
Hmm. Yeah. And also, as you're saying, love it. Um, I'm realizing it's not so much that I have to love the job, it's that I have to love what I get to do. And a lot of what we did, I mean, I'm sure I have it somewhere. We like, wrote out on poster board, like what you would remember obviously more, but like what we love to do, what we don't like to do. And one of the things I love doing is learning. So, it's funny when I talk to my friends about what I'm doing, like I'm writing, you know, like requests for information to the architect about like the size of the sheet metal gutter on the side of the building, which is so random. Like, but also I'm, I just like love learning new stuff, and I love just seeing, oh, wow, this whole world, and how does this work, and how do I learn about this world if I want to do it, improve on it, or bring a social justice lens to it. Um, so do I love like showing up to a job every day? Not necessarily, but do I love learning new things, and I get to do that and be paid for it. And I'm kind of just seeing, now I think of all my jobs as like paid internships. Um,
I love
and
that.
so, yeah, do I love my current paid internship where I'm learning? Yes.
So I think you already answered my next question, which was really like what shifted for you during the course, and maybe after, right? I'm curious if there's something else that surprised you, or something else that you haven't mentioned that you want to share about this different approach, um, the different approach of changing careers that we explored together.
Yeah. Well, I've never worked with a career coach other than you before, so I don't know what other people do, but I feel like I just really liked that it was about like our desires and like what we wanted to do in the world versus, I guess, just only the mechanics of I don't know, the resume and the whatever the other career change things you're supposed to do.
The inner work.
Hmm. And I think, I mean, I don't know if it works for everybody, but I think for a personality like mine, where I needed some like direction on, it was just too much. Like it was all over the place. It was too open. I had no idea. And just sort of some guidance on, okay, well, reach out to 5 people on LinkedIn and ask them about this. And um, I didn't have I don't have so much of an issue taking action. I just I just didn't even know what to do. And so I think that was really helpful for me was, and I did really like the group space in terms of seeing the collective, like people were helping each other out with ideas. Um, but for me, I really benefited from having some time with you to just like, okay, let's dig deep into my particular situation and all of my feelings. And, I had, like I mentioned, I had so much guilt and fear, and just like that being okay and still moving forward anyway.
Yeah, the course has grown a lot since
I'm
you
sure. I'm
took
sure.
it. And one
Sorry,
of the
my cat wants to get out.
It's okay. Too bad we
You were
didn't see the
saying.
cat. The group program has grown a lot
Yeah,
since you took it. And one of the things now I started to do is that I have one-on-one time with every person.
cool.
Yeah, because I think like that deeper inner work is so important. And the reason why I also focus on, okay, let me work with people who are not sure what to do next, is that I find a lot of us, me included, we're very good at like getting in action and getting things done when we know what we want or when
Right.
we know what to do, right? The problem is when you are in that situation where it's like, I have these ideas, I'm not sure, I have these feelings, like all this stuff comes up, and then it's very difficult to take action. And taking action from that place is not even that effective, right? It's when
Yeah.
you work on the inside and then you have some ideas on the action to take, then things start moving very differently.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also I think what's helped me sort of take action, it feels like I have this, it's not really a destination, but like it's a goal further out than I can get to right now. And that goal really is like to be happy and fulfilled, and also to have my time, like in terms of the values that I've had, like I want my time, I want to be able to travel. And so, that's, I think, partly what attracted me to real estate, is like being able to control my time and also have income coming from sources other than my literal labor each day. And so knowing that that goal is kind of in the future, it makes all the current things easier to do, because it's like, I know it's not the be all end all, but it's getting me closer. And so it helps to have sort of this future vision goal. And then just all I have to do is really take the next step in that direction. I don't have to like get all of it done.
Oh, I love it. It's not just the future goal. It's also something that it's not dependent on other people. Being happy, being fulfilled, that's not dependent on somebody giving you permission or giving you the job to be fulfilled. That's really something that gives you a much bigger space from where to live your life. Yeah, I love it. All right, so I have one question that came to me right now as I'm talking to you, and I'm curious. Do you feel that the shift you had in the way you see your career, in the way you see like going after a job and so forth, do you think it's making you live through this time of pandemic right now, social isolation, differently than you would have before?
Probably, in terms of, I guess, I don't think of it as like my job is my whole life anymore. I mean, I'm still a workaholic and spend most of my waking hours working. But I guess I used to, so much of my identity was wrapped up in my W-2 job, and now I just feel like a lot more, not like lightness, but I guess it's not as wrapped up in my world. And so I'm doing good work that I feel like in integrity doing in the world. I'm feeling, lucky, like probably a lot of people, that I have an income right now. Although that's complicated too. We should all have incomes right now. But and I don't feel, and I also feel like if I were to lose my job tomorrow, that would not be great, but I would figure it out. And I don't know. I don't feel like, when I left my job the first time, when you had asked if I, was interested in if I could take a break, and that felt amazing. And I told all my coworkers, like, everyone asked, well, what are you doing next? And I was like, I don't know. And most people's first reaction was like, how can how can you do that? Like, are you, and I'm like, well, one, I have privilege in terms of like having a savings and being able to, and I specifically saved in order to have that space, but I feel like I already did it before. And so now I'm like, whatever happens, happens. I don't have control, but I know that I'm not gonna, I'll figure out the logistics of it, but it's not gonna like hurt my whole identity and soul. Like it's not gonna affect me in the same way if I, lost my job tomorrow, which is I guess the question also that a lot of us are feeling right now. And just that at the end of the day, what I want is my time and health and family, and that's kind of what's like we're all being forced to contend with right now.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is that you really know the power is inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And while we all have to deal with what's out there, right, and some things can be very challenging, that you have found that place inside of you where you trust that you can handle it.
Right. It's not in my control anyway, but
Yeah.
I can navigate the seas with my little ship of, self-worth and action and openness.
That's awesome. Okay, so I want to wrap this up. I have one last question, which is if somebody is watching this and they want to change careers, they're not sure what to do next, and they're thinking about taking the Repurpose Your Purpose group on how to change group program on how to change careers, what would you tell them?
Do something. I mean, if you don't do Repurpose Your Purpose, don't sit around and think about it for like 3 more years, because 3 years from now, even if you do Repurpose Your Purpose group program, you're still going to be like marinating on your life's purpose. It's not going to go away. But at least can I say that like group class that I took with you, changed everything? It's like, no, I don't know, but it also, it put me in the path and the mindset and kind of shifted my perspective on like what I was doing, where now I still don't know, but at least I am not like stuck. You know what I mean? I didn't say like, oh, well, no, that's not for me. That's not what I don't need that. It's like, I don't know. We do need each other. That's kind of maybe what we're all learning here in the pandemic, is like we need each other, and we need each other's guidance and support. And it's pretty rare to have a group program also. I mean, I think anyone could kind of like Google career coach or career change or whatever and like find a career coach. I feel like I know you're different, but career coaches can be like a dime a dozen, right? But I don't think there's a lot of spaces where you could be kind of in a mutual, like, okay, we're all really rethinking our space and we can support each other in that.
And talk
there's
about
not that
some
many.
deep, and talk about some deep stuff, right?
Yeah. And not just do, like something, do something.
What I'm really hearing is that, what I'm really hearing is that if somebody, and I see this all the time, by the way, that people sometimes wait years, feeling stuck and feeling they want to do something and not doing something, and then the problem doesn't go away because inside you still want to do something that makes you feel good, and fulfilled. And so that,
I think about like, I mean, in terms of cost or whatever, like now that I'm kind of running a business also, I have to like really rethink investing and like time. And I mean, the opportunity cost is huge too. Like if you don't ask for that raise or that job you wanted or whatever, like you have to calculate like all of the lost income or the lost time of your life and like compare that against, what am I spending right now to like, sign up for this class or do this program or whatever.
and get a little bit of a kick in the butt if you
Yeah.
need it, or if you need something more gentle and opening,
Yeah.
right? An
Yeah.
opening inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just space to like literally grieve your, I don't know, people are changing careers for lots of reasons, and they may hate what they do and want something different. Or in my case, like I loved what I did and I had to like grieve like that, like closing that chapter of my life, So
Yeah.
I felt like there was space to do that also.
Well, I'm excited about what you're doing right now, and I'm excited about how you're going through life and through your career, really, with this, goal to be fulfilled, and this commitment to learn and love what you're doing. So I love
Yeah.
it, from education to construction. That's awesome.
And beyond.
And
Who knows?
beyond, and who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have you back here,
Yeah.
in 2 more years to see where you're at.
Exactly. Yeah.
All
No,
right.
thank you so much. I
No,
really
thank you,
appreciate.
Sammy. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. I love catching up, and I love hear where you're at right now. And thank you for sharing with everyone.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna stop the recording right now.